You're listening to the Adventure Sports Podcast. We talk with adventurers from around the globe to bring you the inspiration and motivation you need to get started in the outdoors or to keep you moving if you're already there. Now here's your host, Kurt Linville.
Hey folks, we have Epic Bill Bradley for you today, but before we dive into that, a couple of quick announcements. If you would like to be a guest on the Adventure Sports Podcast, while it's true that we have amazing, world-class, epic athletes on the show frequently, we also love to have people that are getting into an adventure sport who are passionate about it, who just want to share the joy of the experience. So if you love adventure sports, you're qualified to be on the Adventure Sports Podcast. Simply let us know at info@adventuresportspodcast.com. And of course, the number one thing that I hope you do is if you hear an episode that you find inspiring and fun, share it with some friends. Let them know about the Adventure Sports Podcast, and thank you in advance. Now, here we go with Epic Bill Bradley. Hi, friends. Welcome again to the Adventure Sports Podcast. Today's show is going to be special. It's very rare that we get to visit with someone who has done this much. And let me rewind a little bit. We've had a lot of people on the Adventure Sports Podcast who have done the things, right? But few people have done as many of the things as Epic Bill Bradley, who is our guest today. Bill, welcome to the program.
Hey, thank you, Kurt. I just want to say it right up front. Adventure Sports Podcast Power. Woo, woo. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
You are so welcome, and we appreciate you coming on. Bill's story goes way back, and I'm going to hit a couple of bullet points just for context, and then Bill will dive into more details and hear why and how and what. It's amazing. Bill started a chain of video stores many, many moons ago, and in 2005, then all of that kind of came crumbling down as streaming became increasingly popular, and he kind of reimagined himself as an endurance athlete and started doing amazing endurance athletic events all over the world, and I'm just going to hit some of the highlights. There are so many. In 2009, he did the Western States 100 Ultra.
I didn't finish, though. I made it 63 miles.
63 miles. Okay.
Yeah, it was 105 degrees. I had not dealt with that kind of heat up to that point. I have now, but then I hadn't.
Well, this is part of your story. You have a lot of DNFs, but eventually they become completions.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think is super cool because you just kept going back and hitting it again and again and again. And then you got to the point that, I mean, for instance, let's talk about the Arrowhead 135. We're talking about 130 miles in Minnesota, 40 degrees below zero, right? And it's like, are you serious? Let's see. So we have 2010, a DNF at 70 miles, 2011, a DNF at 110 miles. Anybody that could say they did 110 miles, I don't know how you can call that a DNF. But anyway, we've got 2012, DNF at 100 miles, 2013.
I didn't make it, man, on my 8th attempt.
Well, you know what?
That was when they filmed the documentary. My next attempt will be my 13th. So when they filmed the movie, it was my 8th. My next attempt will be my 13th. I never quit. That's my message. I don't always make it. Well, I'm gonna, because I don't quit, but I'll be on my 13th.
Wow.
And my longest is 98 miles.
Well, let's talk about the rim to rim to rim in the Grand Canyon.
Yeah. I just did it once, and I did 7 rim to rims.
7 rim to rims. It was a world record.
It was a world record, the old unofficial kind, where I called all the running clubs in the area, and they go, the most we've ever heard anybody do is 4. And I go, well, I'm going to go down and do 5. And you know what? I posted it and I put it out there, and some guy went down and did 6.
So you had to do 7.
I had to do 7. It almost killed me doing 7 of those things. It's crazy. The down below was like 100 to 110 degrees, and then you got the climbs up the sides, which are,
steep, crazy,
6,000 to 7,000 feet.
Yeah. And then swimming the English Channel.
I've taken 5 attempts at that, and I still haven't made it. I made it 20 miles, and I got separated from the boat by a storm.
Oh,
Yeah, and I finally, that was a crazy one, man. A storm blew in at the end. It was really, really wild.
it says here that you're training for another attempt. Is that correct?
Yeah, I am. I took 8 years off from swimming. I was so burned out. 5 attempts at the English Channel. I was so burned out. I took 8 years off. I had to do a 6-hour qualifying swim in San Francisco Bay. It's got to be 60 degrees or under.
Okay.
And so it's like 58. And I tried it like a couple weekends in a row, and I made 4 hours. Taking 8 years off it was taking longer to get back in swimming shape than I thought.
Okay.
I gave myself like a year and a half, and it wasn't enough. So I'm signed up again for 2027 English Channel. I never quit.
2027 English Channel.
I never quit.
Well, let's see. Aconcagua.
Yeah, you're hitting all the ones. I mean, the last ones I've done, I've made them all up to the last like 3 or 4 of these things. Aguancagua's, I tried to climb Denali. I've tried 6 times to climb Mount Denali in Alaska, which is the world's coldest mountain. And I've had frostbite so bad my thumb turned black. I've fallen in a crevice 25 feet down.
Oh, no.
I mean, like crazy nightmare stuff. And then, so I go like, they go, hey, you should try Aconcagua. It's not nearly as technical as Denali, right?
Yeah.
And they go, oh, that sounds great. I'll try it. They go, it's just really high, because it's like 22,800 feet. And I go, well, I haven't any big problems on, with the altitude on Denali. And I go, I haven't any trouble with the altitude. But I went down and did Aconcagua, and it was like I got, within 600 feet of the top. We've been climbing for like 8 days, and there's like this last day, that's the day that kills everybody, right?
Yeah.
And so like half the people dropped, on this last ascent when we're going up to the 22.8. And I know he said, okay, let's take a break over here. And it was like 600 feet from the top. And I sat down. And then when he said, let's go, I couldn't stand up, man. I was like, I go, well, I'll crawl. I'm not going to quit. And I'm like, I couldn't even crawl. I finally rolled over my back and I'm like, I'm just like panting like a dog trying to get air. And then you're like, wow, I hope I can get off of this thing,
Sure.
And so I never quit, but that's when I've taken 3 attempts at, and that's my highest was 22.2.
Wow. Well, you've done so many things, big swims, big runs, big hikes, big mountains. It just goes on and on and on. And you've been doing this for 20 years.
Yeah.
How old are
time,
you now, Bill?
Man.
Yeah.
30.
How old are you now?
30.
30?
I do it up here. It's all brainwashed in here, man. They're going to go, man, that guy looked like hell, but he was 30 when he died.
Well, Bill, here's the funny thing. I tell everybody I'm 23.
Yeah, my younger brother, man.
I'm your younger brother. Between the two of us, we're probably shaving an extra like 50 years off of our real age.
Not me. I'm 30. I really work hard on trying to keep myself that young spirit in there,
Yes.
Because, well, I'll tell you one thing. There's nothing worse than somebody who's young and acts like they're old. And then the people who are old and act like they're old, that's the second worst thing.
Well, I agree. Our bodies do age, but inside, we're only as old as we think we are.
I want that. You're talking my language. That's why you look so good, man, and you do so much stuff.
Well, let's go back, rewind all the way so people know the history. When your Bradley video chain started, I mean, it just got hit by technology, right? But you were 45 is what this says when all of that happened. And then you had to kind of rebuild a life. Is that why you started doing these major athletic events?
Yeah. So how that went was back then I was doing, after high school, I drank and partied for about 10 years, and but I'd run track and cross country in high school,
Okay.
and I went to a Tony Robbins seminar at like 30 years old. And Tony, it was life changing for me. It got me, I was the first weekend it was like a 4-day weekend. I had fun, you know what I mean? Without drinking. And within a year or so, I went to AA. I mean, I was a good partier, I was a binge drinker, and I quit. I just totally quit. And then I started running again. I just started, and I was I had done the business. I started the video stores with credit cards because the banks wouldn't loan me money. So I went to every store and, every bank in San Francisco. Some guy told me to do that and pull a credit card application and mail them all in. And that's what we did. And so I actually owned a house. So I got half the money from borrowing off the house. The other half I got with these credit cards. I just never let anything stop me, ever.
Yes.
And that's what I'm encouraging everybody who's listening to your podcast. Don't let anything stop you. There's always a way.
There's got to be a way. I don't know if 50 credit cards is necessarily the best way.
It would be hard to do now. Back then, the guy told me he's a friend of the family. And he said, so you want to do this video store and you can't get loans? He says, well, this is what you got to do if nobody will loan you any more money. You go to downtown San Francisco and hit all these banks, grab a credit card application and mail them all in at one time. And so I think we just overwhelmed the system. We got 15 back, and that's how we charge the second half of the stores.
I have a friend, Bill, who one year he realized he had a huge tax bill with the IRS. And he looked at how much he owed them, and he thought, you know what? I could start a good business with that money. And so he looked at the terms to paying the IRS off, by making payments. And he goes, actually, that's not a bad loan. And so instead of paying the IRS, he opened a new company, and he made the payments, but he got his business off the ground. There's always a way, right? And some of them are more wise than others. But you did really well with your video business. I mean, you obviously are a successful person because you just don't stop.
Yeah, it was a good run. And we lasted 20 years, and really Netflix knocked us out, knocked the whole industry out. We were one of the first to go, but it started out with, we were one of like 10,000 little video stores in the country, and because people always go like, oh, I don't know, I can't do that. Too many people are trying to do it. And I go, no, if you just be the best of the best of the best, always make it.
There's always room at the top.
You always constantly improve, and it's not that hard to be the best of the best if you're always improving. You just keep improving. It's those small incremental steps that bring you to greatness in life, and that's how you get up there. But we ended up being like one of the top 20 chains in the country out of 10,000, won a Video Store of the Year award, and one of the highest volume stores. We would, on a weekend, we would have 2,000 people come through in like a 4-hour period. I mean, we really were really busy, 7 checkouts and stuff. So, but it was just when that industry went, I mean, it was so devastating to me. I don't quit, right? So I'm like, you could see the signs like with Netflix and all that. And it got me, I was one of the first to go because we were expanding. We were doing so well. We had opened 3 new stores and we were just killing it. But then, man, when it the business just dropped incredibly fast, and it took me out. Unfortunately, my wife left at the same time. It was too much stress for her. And and it was like I'd been doing Ironmans and marathons up to that point, right? And my buddy was like, I saw a guy I was just running. I was back to work for the company business doing, like sales, like electrical contracting. Okay. And so I was doing sales in downtown San Francisco. I was so devastated with the bankruptcy that I couldn't even look people in the eyes. I would look at the ground and walk down the street. It was my identity. I'd been doing that for 20 years, like you said. And then I was doing marathons and triathlons and doing some Ironmans. And my buddy said, Bill, you've been talking about doing a 50-miler for a long time. The perfect one would be tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
And he go, I know, that's what I said. I go, I'm so devastated, right, by this bankruptcy. But I just remember when I did my first Ironman, even my first half Ironman, how great I had felt, like when you do something new for the first time, it's like that euphoric feeling and you feel like you could conquer the world, when you do that. And so, yeah, he said he's tomorrow. And so then I went to dinner with another friend of mine and I said, that my buddy said there's a 50-mile tomorrow. God, it would be really good for my, my confidence if I go down there and just like go and run this 50-miler, and I'd never done it before because I was worried about not failing,
Sure.
And then, and I go, but the problem is I have poison oak on my manly parts, right?
Oh,
and he goes,
no.
I know. And I go, I don't know if that'd be smart. And I haven't done that much training since I went through the bankruptcy. It's like 4 months later, and he goes, well, you want me to call my dad? His dad was like an 80-year-old retired doctor.
Wow.
And I go, yeah, why don't you get your dad on the phone? Let's see what he thinks. And so he gets his dad on the phone and his dad goes, so Bill, you want to know what I think about you running a 50-miler with poison oak on your manly parts? Not a good idea, Bill. Not a good idea, right? So I go to bed that night thinking I'm not going to run this 50-miler, right? But I woke up like Tom Cruise in Risky Business at like 3 a.m. And I said, sometimes you got to say, what the F, man? And I freaking set that alarm for 5. I went out there and ran that 50 miles like my life depended on it because it did.
Yes.
And after I ran that 50 miles, I'm walking downtown San Francisco. I'm looking people in the eyes again. I'm standing straight up, feeling good, and it was huge, huge, huge.
Wow. So it wasn't your first big event, but it was the first of that distance, and it brought you back. It brought you back from a real devastated place.
It did. And then from there, 100 miles. If I could do 50, I got to do 100. And then I was like off to the races. It was like, if I could do 100, then I could do 100 in Alaska. And I could do 135 in Death Valley. And it was just like, I just kept one-upping myself,
Well, let's talk about the Death Valley events.
Yeah.
That kind of blows my mind. And I'll tell you why. I'm one of these people that likes the cold, Bill. I'm fine with the cold. But when it comes to the heat, it just beats me up. So when I saw what you were doing in Death Valley, I thought, you got to be kidding me. So we're talking about Badwater here. Tell us what that is.
So Badwater is, you got a crew in a van and you do 135 miles. And it's from the hottest spot in the world, I guess Badwater, down there, it's 200 feet below sea level where it starts.
Yep.
And then we go all the way up to the portal of Mount Whitney. And so, yeah, and it was like a big deal for me to do that. You'd seen it on TV. I'd heard about it. And I didn't all the way know how to handle the drinking and all that stuff, So I remember when it got really, really hot, I started chugging off my Camelback. I'm like, during the heat of the day, and I got myself a hyponatremic,
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And actually I was in some sort of study that they pick so many people out and they weighed us ahead of time, then they weighed us afterwards. And I got myself so hyponatremic that like every step, it felt like butcher knives were going into my quads.
Oh, no.
I had to fight through so much pain to make it to the top. And they weighed me afterwards. I was like 15 pounds heavier than when I started because I had so much water in me. They're like, you could have died, man. They go, don't drink anything else. And then we go to pizza with my crew and they're looking at me. I go, yeah, I'm going to drink to wash down this pizza.
Well, at least you're getting a little bit of salt.
Yeah, it was like, but that heat was something I had never felt before, how hot that can get out there.
Yeah.
Especially you're on the pavement, you got the air, coming off the ground, just excruciating heat, man.
unbelievable how hot it gets there. I drove through Death Valley a couple of years ago, and I looked down at the car thermometer, and I saw the heat, and I think it was the highest I'd ever seen on a thermometer. And if you took me, Bill, and dropped me in the middle of the wilderness in the wintertime, I'm confident that I'd be fine. I'd get back out again. But you drop me in Death Valley in that heat, I don't think I'd last a day.
You would be beef jerky. That's what they say they look like when you get lost out there. They go, "You're like jerky."
Yes.
I didn't want to be jerky out there.
Well, how many years did you do the Badwater?
So I did the Badwater because this will kind of go with, what I do. I did the Badwater race twice and I finished it. Then I heard about somebody doing a double Badwater. I go, "Whoa, somebody did a double Badwater?" I go, I got to try that. So the next year, I went out and I went all the way across. I went up to the top of Whitney because to do the first guy who did the Badwater, he went all the way to the top of Whitney.
Okay.
But the race only goes to the portal, which is like halfway up where the pavement ends. It's probably for safety. They only go that high. But I went up the trail and I went all the way to the top, and then you go all the way back. And so that took like 7 days. I'm one of 24 people ever to do a double Badwater. And then somebody told me that somebody's had done quadruple Badwaters.
That's starting to sound like a quadruple heart bypass surgery.
Yeah.
Man.
I went out and I did 584 miles back and forth in Death Valley for basically 3 weeks, 2 Mount Whitney summits, 110 degrees, just grinding out for 3 weeks. Yeah.
Wow. And you did it.
I did it. Yeah.
Okay. It's time for the why question. Hey friends, here at the Adventure Sports Podcast, health is really a priority. That's part of the reason why, for over 10 years, we've been encouraging people to get out there and have some fun, because when we become more active, it makes us healthier. Our focus on health is one of the reasons that I'm excited about today's sponsor, True Diagnostic. Did you know that your calendar age doesn't always match how old your body truly is? Your biological age, the age of your cells and organs, is actually the number one predictor of your risk for serious diseases like heart disease, cancer, dementia, and more. That's why learning your biological age can be truly life-changing, and that's exactly what the True Age test from True Diagnostic helps you do. It's a simple at-home test. You just prick your finger and then use the provided packaging and a prepaid envelope to send the sample in for testing. No doctor's visits required, no labs, but you'll get great information that can help you to be healthier and understand how you're doing with your own health habits. Now, I always joke that I'm 23 years old. You've heard me say that forever. Obviously, I'm quite a bit older than that, but I'm curious to find out what my biological age is. It's kind of eye-opening when you learn that your biological age, if it's just 5 years older than your actual age, your risk for major diseases can go up by 30 to 50%. That's kind of a wake-up call. But due to epigenetics, and this is the part that really inspires me, up to 90% of biological aging is driven by lifestyle. That means the way that we eat, move, sleep, manage stress, all these things play massive roles in how fast or slow our bodies age. That aligns with the Adventure Sports Podcast so much. So I'm taking the test. I'm excited to find out the results. And in addition to my biological age, True Diagnostic also provides a personalized report that's full of science-backed steps that we can all take to slow down aging and improve our health over time. If you care about protecting your health and want to find out what your real age is, head over to truediagnostic.com and use my code ASP to get 20% off your entire order or subscription. That's truediagnostic.com. Use ASP at checkout to get 20% off. Your future self will thank you. Oh man, this sponsor just keeps reminding me what a lousy shopper I am. The holidays are almost here, And if you still have names on your list, don't panic. Well, guess what? I have a lot of names on my list. Uncommon Goods makes holiday shopping stress-free and joyful with thousands of one-of-a-kind gifts you can't find anywhere else. And so I went on their website just to look around, and lots of original things. Here's one that caught my eye. I really like weather. I like nature. They have these teardrop-shaped glass globes that have a material in them that looks like bubbles, but they change depending on the weather. So it helps you to forecast the weather. And so it's kind of a beautiful item you can set on a shelf, but as you look at it, it can also kind of give you a feel for what's going to happen outside. So I thought that was super cool. Uncommon Goods has all sorts of things like this that I normally wouldn't find in the standard department store. That's the point. I also like the way that their website is broken up for people that you're shopping for. You can click to shop for mom, or click to shop for dad, or kids, or book lovers, gardeners, mixologists. And when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. And here's my favorite part. With every purchase that you make at Uncommon Goods, they give back $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. And they have donated more than $3.1 million to date. So don't wait. Make this holiday the year you give something truly unforgettable. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/ASP. That's uncommongoods.com/ASP for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary. Why? Why did you do it?
I think the big thing is, I think I'm supposed to, because I asked myself a lot of questions after the bankruptcy, you know what I mean? Like, because I remember we were at the peak, and I remember like all the material, not that I had tons and tons of money, but, have a nice car and house. And I really thought at the time, I thought, wow, this is really hollow. You know what I mean? This materialistic thing is way overrated. It's not what people think,
Right.
And I said, maybe my calling's something else. And so that's, the universe said, well, yeah, it probably is something else. So we'll take all that stuff away. But yeah.
That's a wake-up call.
Yeah. And so I feel like I'm supposed to inspire people, to take on their dreams. And that was, I was thinking like, oh, it's just to get people to do things out of their comfort zone, because all these things I do are way out of my comfort zone every time. And that's why I do them, and then I wasn't making them, right? So like in the movie, at Arrowhead, I'm on my 8th attempt. I didn't even know what attempt I was on. I was so embarrassed that I couldn't make it because I'd done so well up to these last, 3 or 4 events, the hardest in the world. And then I'm getting stuck on them, but I keep coming back. And so I remember in the movie when it came out, and she had the director, the young director who did great, Quinn. And she told me before, she goes, Bill, do you know how many of these you've tried? Because I was so embarrassed. I never kept count. And I go, I don't know, like 2 or 3. That was my normal answer.
Yeah.
She goes, no, you're on 8. I knew it was more than 2 or 3, but that was my normal answer. I go, no way. She goes, yeah, I went to the official race register. I went down all the way. You've done 8. This is your 8th attempt.
So explain this event so people understand what this is.
So it is, the guy who did this was a genius in the crazy way. He came up with the idea. He's a cold weather guy. I think I guess he lived up there at the time. I think now he lives in Alaska, but he actually graphed out in northern Minnesota, International Falls, which is the coldest place in the continental US. And he came up with it's right on the Canadian border. He came up with the coldest day of the year, by looking at 10 years. And trust me, it's right there most of the time. Yeah. And he put the race on that day. And so I'd gone to Alaska and I did this sitting up there, 100-miler, and it was like 100, and it was -5. And I was over the cutoff. And yeah, it was, every story I got is a big story. I ended up finishing that one like 6 hours over the cutoff in a blizzard. And, and I know. But I thought, okay, I can, I'm good in the snow. I finished in a blizzard, man, And But they said, you got to go to northern Minnesota, man. It's a different kind of cold. And because this is in southern Alaska, the Susitna was, on the Iditarod Trail. But man, it was like minus 35 out there the first year I did it. I've never felt cold like that.
That's cold.
I'm from California, man. I was going to the first checkpoint and my hands were frozen. And I go, I don't understand this. I bought the best gloves in Santa Rosa REI.
Santa Rosa. Oh yeah, they've got gloves for that kind of weather, I'm sure.
They weren't warm enough at all, man. I made it to that first checkpoint. This is the first year, and I've been making everything up to this point, and pretty much. And I go into it's like a gas station. You have to pay for your food. It's old school, man. I love the Arrowhead. I love it. And you have to pay for your food. And I go in there and I'm trying to get feeling in my hands, and I'm putting my hands over this hot dog warmer, to try and get some feelings going. And then I noticed everybody was dropping, and I looked at the race director. I mean, not the race director, I don't think was there at that time. It was one of the volunteers, and I said, I can still go, right? And they go, yeah, you can still go, but nobody has ever left this late and made the race officially. They never had cutoffs up to that point, right?
Okay.
And it's minus 35. I come in there. Now it's dark. I mean, pitch black out there and way colder, with the air and everything. And I go, well, I don't quit. And so I went out by myself, and it's 12 hours to the next checkpoint. And so you're going to 73 miles. And I remember, I came up, everybody's ahead of me, right? I'm in dead last. And I came up to a fork in the road, and they do mark the race a lot better than they did back then. And I remember I came to this fork, and I'm like, okay, there's like 80 people in front of me, man. I should be able to figure out. I got my headlamp. I'm looking down, and I go, okay, it looks like all these guys went this way. And like you say, there's bikers, there's skiers. No, there might have been, there's never skiers on those cold years, so it's just bikers. The skis don't slide too good. But anyway, and so I looked and I go, they look like they're going to the left. And so I start to go to the left. And just as I'm going, a snowmobile comes up behind me, one of the volunteers, a good friend of mine now. And he yells at me, he goes, wrong way. See, I would have been really big trouble if I'd gone down that trail. But anyway, so I continue on, and I get to where this checkpoint's supposed to be, 35 miles, and it's like a restaurant, I was told. And I'm up there, and it's pitch black, dark, no cars in the parking lot. And I'm like, they left me. And then I had gone to a survival camp before I went to Arrowhead, literally like a guy to teach survival in Alaska, like a 3-day course. Just because I knew, from what everybody was telling me, they go, it's really a crazy race, right?
Right.
And so the only main thing I remember from that whole course is you got to get in your sleeping bag while you still can,
Sure.
And so after I beat on the windows and realized nobody was around, I go, okay, I got to get in my sleeping bag. So I ran for my sled. I whip open my sled bag, pull out my sleeping bag, and I'm like shaking like this. I go, I gotta get this open, because that's what kills you. You have to get in while you still can, because you start shaking so bad. And I took some deep breaths, and I got it down, and then I zipped it up, and I'm like hyperventilating. And I'm like, okay, I quit now. That's what I said to myself. And I was like, I'm laying on this ice-covered parking lot. This was an emergency bivvy, man. And then I hear one of the guys I'd been with earlier, and he's yelling out. He goes, hey, Bill, do you want to come sleep in a warm cabin?
Oh, no.
So the place was like a quarter mile away. I just couldn't see any markings in the dark,
Right.
And from what I understood, it was there. And I go, no, I really like sleeping on this ice-covered parking lot. But then I go, oh, this is so freaking hard. I love this race. This is so crazy. So that's why I've been back 12 times trying to finish it.
12 times.
I fell in love with it, man. It's so freaking crazy.
Well, they call you Epic Bill, and now I know why. You just don't quit, do you?
I don't quit, man. I have nightmares. Watched, God, what was the movie up here? The wrestling movie from like the 80s. And the guy was fighting. He was going to wrestle the guy. He dropped down 2 weight classes to wrestle this undefeated guy, right? Because he wanted to make a mark in life. And so he drops down 2 weight classes to fight this who'd been undefeated for his whole high school career. And the guy, he went out and he watched the guy, and he's walking up and down this champion with a log on his shoulder up and down the bleachers,
Right.
And the guy goes, you're going to have nightmares because of this. He goes, oh, I already have nightmares. I go, I'm exactly that way. I always have nightmares. If I don't have nightmares, it means I'm in my comfort zone too much.
Wow. What a lot of stuff. So you have a movie about all of this. What's the name of the movie?
Yeah, Epic Bill. So it's really, really great. My how it came about was my nephew was getting ready to graduate from film school, and my sister came to me and said, "What do you think about him and his friends doing a movie on you?" And I go, "Wow, that sounds great. Of course, who wouldn't say that, right?
Sure.
And so these 3 kids, I remember they showed up. And I was training for Arrowhead, so I'm out on the beach out here, pulling my sled up and down the beach. That's how I train for it. And these kids, I looked at them, I said, I go, I hope you guys know we're going to win an Academy Award with this, right? I go, these 23-year-olds, they get these big eyes, and I'm going like, no, we shoot for the top, man. That's what we do. We shoot for the top. And so, yeah, these kids, they come out, the first race that they're filming is International Falls, Minnesota. So coming out to the Arrowhead, and it's going to be a cold year. It's like a -40 year. And my sister's like, you got to get somebody to drive them around the course to keep them alive because they're from LA. So I got a local guy out there who was great, just great. Fud's his name. He's in the movie, actually. They talk about him, gives his feelings on how cold Arrowhead is. And these kids, they just did a terrific job. And it's on Amazon, and I'm really proud of the movie. I think they did a great job. It's very, very inspiring, and it really shows that, I don't quit. And neither should anybody else. Woo woo.
So it was on PBS for a while. It's on Amazon and Apple TV now. Is that right?
Amazon, Apple TV. Yep. Epic Bill. Yep.
Epic Bill. Man, sounds fantastic. And I am sad I haven't seen it yet, but I'm going to watch it. That's going to be fun.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. It's doing really, really good. Yeah. We got trailers out there that we're promoting, and they're getting hundreds of thousands of views. So it's going to be really big on Amazon.
Well, here's a question for you, specifically about these ultras in the extreme cold. To stay warm enough, you have to stay fueled, right? And these are extreme cold temperatures, and you're out there for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours exerting yourself. How do you stay fueled? What are you eating so that you can keep going?
Yeah, you have to eat stuff that's not going to freeze. That's the key, or you're putting it inside your jacket to keep it warm. But most of it is like, for me, it was like breads and pastries and, easy to digest, like sugary type stuff for me is what I eat out there. I know some people put their goos into their water. Water's another thing, man. I was wearing Camelbacks and this hose, no matter what, blowing it out, all that stuff.
Yeah.
They say blowing the air out, and it still would freeze. And then I even bought one that was all insulated and all this fancy thing, and it froze. So I'm back to bottles, and in those, I've even had those freeze inside the sled when it's super cold, It's just, but you got to keep fueling. You got to keep eating. I'm trying to eat 300 calories an hour. Like I said, I do a lot of braids. A lot of people do candy and stuff, just whatever. Because when you get in the middle of the night and you're doing this, I call it like the death march.
Yeah.
It's like -30. You're like you've been going for 10 hours or 8 hours and you're walking through the night and it's like this death march. Nobody even talks. If you're around anybody, nobody talks because we're all so miserable. But you got to eat. It's got to be easy to eat food, and if you need to refuel your water or go back to your sled to get more food, because I wear like pouches that I have food in, and getting those in, or yeah, some of the shot blocks, those work good. And then you could eat and when you get to a checkpoint, everybody pigs out on the food there. There's only 3 checkpoints. I've only made it to 2 of them. The third one's at 112. I've never made it to the teepee.
Wow.
But you got to keep eating to keep you warm. Otherwise you freeze. And you freeze anyway, but you freeze more if you're underfueled. You really get in trouble out.
And you don't want to eat things that your body has to put a lot of energy into digesting. So that's why you're doing
you can't even get them down.
Simpler
You can't
carbs.
even get them down. It's got to be easy. My buddy, like I said, he squirts the goos into his water and stuff, and then he drinks his goos,
Right.
I never quite got that advanced, I guess.
So you've done the extreme heat and you've done the extreme cold. People would argue the hottest and the coldest, right? Which do you prefer?
Yeah. Oh, I know. I used to say, because Badwater, I had that, even when I did the quadruple Badwater, you have a van with you. You know what I mean? The whole time you have a van. So, you got a crew and you know what? And as long as the van, this is the Badwater rules. As long as the van doesn't move, you can get in and cool off and eat and drink and put your head against the air, the air conditioning. And I do all that. But at Arrowhead, I like to say it's kind of like Badwater without the van because you're going like 12 hours, man. And you got to move quick. I've had frostbite out there. One year I think I made it 70 something miles. And because I was too slow at getting, my Bivian, getting my sleeping bag open, even with liner gloves, I got frostbite, and that knocked me out of the race. But they started doing, I heard about people doing the unsupported Badwater, which is now you load a cart up with all your ice, water, and food, no crew. You have observers there just to make sure you don't die, but no crew. So I went out and I did the quad Badwater. I go, man, I got to try this solo. And of course, I set a date like a month ahead of time when I'm going to do it. And I come out there and I'm really stubborn. Like I'm doing it on that day because I committed to that day, right? Well, the first year I did it, I commit to the day and it comes on the news. This next weekend is going to be one of the hottest weekends ever on earth.
Wow.
And I'm out there pulling this cart in this heat. And it was like, yeah, so I got a movie called Pushing Mercury, a little short movie, that's about that. We filmed it and I didn't finish, but it was 140 degrees in the heat when I was pulling that thing. I lasted like 9 hours or something like that, And then I started throwing up. I was going up this little hill and I started throwing up. And once you lose it there, because you got no help, you just, I made it to this point where there's this little bit of shade. My buddy had told me there's like these ditches on the side. He goes, you're going to take, he says, he's in the van. He says, you're going to take a break up at this next ditch because you could sit on it and your calves will be in the shade and it'll feel good. And my buddy had tried to do it. And I go, like, you got to be kidding me. That's my relief is I'm going to sit in a ditch and my calves are going to be in the shade. And what's funny is it felt good, except my butt was burning on the ground.
It's no joke. That kind of heat is just dangerous. You could really, people die.
Both of them are. The real extreme cold people, they get that cold and they start yanking their clothes off and crazy stuff like that,
Yeah, it's strange. Hypothermia makes you think you're overheated and people take their clothes off and that's one of the last things you do. with hypothermia.
Yeah, I haven't done that one yet.
Oh, yeah, let's avoid that one, okay, Bill?
Bradley died with his clothes on. He didn't get naked.
Well, speaking of cold, Denali. Tell us your Denali story.
So I'm doing all this, and then I'm hearing about mountain climbing, right?
Yes.
And I'm like, they're like, wow, because I had read that book Into Thin Air a long time ago when it first came out about the guy, all the people dying on Everest. And I said, wow, that I want to do Everest someday. I'm going to do Everest, because it's so, as soon as I hear people are dying, I go, oh my God, that's so hard. I got to try it. So
I'm not sure that's a wise way to approach life, Bill.
but it definitely gives you a good challenge. You know what I mean? So,
it does, yes.
So I went up to Denali and I'd looked at the odds and it was like, I don't know, like 6 people had died the year before or something.
Goodness.
But like most of them were solo climbers, right? So they're up there. I think almost all of them were solo. And I'm with a team, so there's 6 of us all put together. But it was like, and I was in really good shape from all the running I was doing, but we got up, I kind of was like, I didn't feel good in the hotel. I think I was coming down with something, I just, and I got up on that mountain and I just started feeling like crap. And I remember, I had like, it's funny. My dad was a Marine. So my dad's really, really, he was a Marine at like 17 or something in high school. And he was a Marine. And I remember I had a phone up there. I go, this is probably not the good guy to call as my dad, right? I go, Dad, I don't feel too good up here, man. What do you think? Should I keep going up? He goes, you could do it, Bill. I believe in you. You could do it. So it's kind of like one of the worst things you could do is when you start getting sick to keep going higher on the mountain.
Right.
So I got all the way up to like 14,000 feet, the camp up there. And I'm like literally like in like where you get the hot at night,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm boiling up. And then I'm unzipping my sleeping bag. I remember I fell back to sleep. And I woke up and my hand was outside the sleeping bag and it's like -5.
Oh, no.
And I'm going like, no. And then I put it up under my armpit. It must have just been for, very little time, but enough to put a fear in me. And so I told the guy, I'm going to need to go down now or whatever, So, and there was another guy and he was having trouble with like his boots and all this stuff. He was in a lot of pain. And so we had to go down. Yeah. It was just like, but it was really hard to go down sick, like unbelievably hard. That's why I always know most people die coming down because they use too much energy summiting, And so now I'm always, when I mountain climb, I say, okay, can I make it back down? You don't want to push past that point, You
got to leave some gas in the tank.
It was a horrible trip down, but it let me know that frickin' mountain climbing's really hard. So now I've taken 6 attempts totally at Denali. I've made it up to high camp. Yep. I've had everything. I fell in a crevice and like 25 feet down. And I looked over and there was a gloved hand sticking out of the wall.
No
and it's
way.
like it's this slow motion because you're all roped. And so I said, help. And then I'm looking at this hand. I'm going, I got to stay away from that hand, Anyway, I was so shook up by falling in there and getting that all, whatever, that I never mentioned anybody about the hand, And then the next year, I remember I had this guy and I go, we were up right around that point. And I go, there was a crevice around here. I fell in last year and there was a gloved hand sticking out of the wall. She goes, there was not. And I go, yep, there was not. You're right. But there was.
That's crazy.
No, I really like mountain climbing too because it's so hard. It really gives me nightmares.
I've climbed a lot of 14ers. I have not been above, the 14er level. I've never hit 15. What changed for you when you, like between the 14 and the 20?
I started not making them. Minor detail. Yeah, it just everything gets harder, man, with the lack of oxygen. Well, Whitney's 14 something, and I've done that like numerous times. But I try to do like Alto Lab was, I was buying some and they were sponsoring me for a little while, but just the breathing thing, it's the altitude. That's what makes it harder, for sure. And it gets colder. I mean, it can get colder on Denali for sure, man. They get up there, that wind gets whipping up. You can't get caught. The last time I tried it, like a couple people got caught up on the ridge, man. And it was like, the winds hit and you get, and they ended up with, we thought they were going to be dead and they ended up just with like horrendous, like frostbite or something,
Ugh.
It's just terrible, man. It's just terrible, but it's a risk we all take and we all do it for that. It's like we're doing it to challenge ourselves. If it can't kill you, it's probably going to be too boring for me to even try.
Goodness.
It's gotta be, very challenging.
Sure. Bill, you told us the story of doing the 50 miler without really training and how that kind of brought you back, right? Where you could look people in the eye again. But you're also someone who knows when to say, nope, not this time, and to stop. I mean, these are major events. When you give up at 100 miles, I'm like, what you did 100 miles, but still, what advice do you have for people? Sometimes we need to stop so that we can come back and try again another day. What advice do you have for people?
Well, I think when I stopped at 98 miles in Arrowhead, I stopped because I needed to sleep so bad. But when I left, you'll see in the movie, when I left the checkpoint, the doctor was recommending me not to go on because I had trench foot so bad on my feet. There were blisters all over the bottom. And I said, well, is that an order or can I still go? He says, it's not an order, but I would highly recommend you not going. And I said, well, can you put some tape on those things? I got to go because the cutoff's coming up.
Yeah.
And so I went back out for another 22 miles. Then I slept and then my feet swelled like out of my shoes. It was level 10 pain when I did it. Just a side note, though, I learned later in the Grand Canyon because I was with a very experienced ultra runner, and the same thing happened in the Grand Canyon when I was doing my like 7th crossing or 6th crossing. I already noticed it from getting feet wet. He said, Bill, if you can go 10 to 15 minutes, start walking, even though it's level 10 pain, the pain will start going down. The swelling will go down on your feet so you continue. And so back then I didn't know it. And so every time I stood up, it was level 10. And so I had to quit. So I do quit. I freaking hate it. I hate it like you wouldn't believe. But I also know like climbing a mountain, when you're roped to other people, you know what I mean? You gotta be smart that way. I remember when I was swimming my first English Channel and I went over there, I did the Ultraman in Hawaii. Do you know what the Ultraman is?
I do not.
Yeah, it's like it's like 2.5 Ironmans basically.
That's
around
crazy.
The Big Island.
Yeah.
Really, really elite athletes there, And there's people like Olympians and stuff. And I don't know how I got in, but I snuck in because I don't quit. And I remember I finished it and they were doing an award ceremony, and one of the girls she was with me, we swam together. And she only beat me like 5 minutes in the swim, right? And then they announced that she had done the English Channel, that she swam the English Channel. I said, if she swam the English Channel, I could swim the English Channel. You know what I mean? Because she only beat me by 5 minutes. Of course, that was now like 13 years ago or something. But I did sign up for the English Channel, and you have to do a 6-hour qualifying swim in San Francisco Bay. And I went down there. Remember, I'd called, one of the clubs down there, the swim clubs, and I said, yeah, I signed up for the English Channel and I need to do a 6-hour qualifying swim. And the lady said, well, what have you done so far? I go, well, I just did a 10K swim I think I had a wetsuit on too, in Hawaii. No wetsuits because people were getting stung by the jellyfish out there. And it was Smooth Bay. And she says, and you want to do the English Channel? She says, well, what if you come down here and swim in the bay and don't like it? I go, well, that's not going to happen because I already gave my deposit. So I remember when I went down there, though, it was like one of those foggy days in the city and people were coming out of the water in this fog. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. But by like 2 months, I was swimming. I made a 6-hour swim to qualify for the English Channel.
Wow.
And the reason I bring that up is when I went over there, I said, you know what? I'm going to make the channel because you know why? I'm just not going to quit, right? I'm just not going to quit, right? And so I remember I met a guy, my boat pilot, the first year I went over there, and he meets me. I meet him, when I go into town, we meet for a cup of coffee or something to talk. And he says, so Bill, I was looking at your website. So you're an extreme endurance athlete? And you think you could swim the English Channel? He goes, no way in hell will you ever be able to swim the channel. No way in hell. My worst guy lasted 20 minutes and he begged me to pull him out. You probably won't even last 20 minutes. And I'm like, I just handed it. I go, this is like, after I walked away, I go, this is very unusual service for a guy I just handed like a $3,000 check to. And then I get this call like 2 days later. It's like, okay, Bill, tomorrow's your day, man. It looks good. The weather's going to be good, right? It's really dicey out there. These storms come in fast and stuff, But anyway, the guy goes, so it's going to be your day tomorrow. He says, meet me down at the boat dock at 3 a.m. in the morning, right? And up to this point, I've only swam in San Francisco Bay where it's relatively protected, you know what I mean? And I go down there and I meet him at the boat dock and it's literally like like a 30-minute ride to where you start to swim. And I'm going down, it's pitch black and there's white caps everywhere. It's really rough.
Man.
I'm like, dude, you said it was going to be nice. And he started laughing. He goes, oh, Bill, surprise, storm blew in. So I jump off the boat. I swim to shore. It's like a quarter mile. I get hit by a big wave on my back and I crawl out of the water,
Right.
I look out at this angry ocean, this totally white-capped angry ocean. I thought to myself, what have I gotten myself into? And I jumped in, and to this day, it's the roughest water I've ever been in. I couldn't even tell which way was up. It was like, you're just getting
in a
slammed.
washing machine, huh?
Oh, that's how they described it. It was a washing machine for sure. I couldn't even tell which way was up. I remember as I'm swimming, you know what I'm thinking to myself? Please, Bill, last 20 minutes. You don't want to be a laughing stock.
You got to beat 20 minutes.
I got to beat 20 minutes. I don't want to be the worst. And I made it 4 hours, but I just started throwing up after like an hour. I got seasick in this water. And I remember I threw up so many times. The guy looked at me and he goes, man, if you keep going at this pace, it's going to be 30 hours for you to make it. And I just start throwing up again, as this guy's giving me this lecture. And then I started swimming again because I'm just thinking to myself, I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to quit. And then I just got so weak, your legs start because I was puking and puking and puking.
Your legs
are
sinking.
Pretty soon, just my head is above the water. And I go, okay, I could either drown or quit. And I said, probably better to come back next year.
Yeah.
And so I ended up stopping. And the guy, when I got on the boat, the guy looked at me, goes, Bill, I knew you wouldn't make it, but that was a hell of an effort. So on some level, I got that guy's respect.
Yes.
But yeah, that was where I decided that better to quit than die.
Well, and I think that's always the case.
Yeah,
when it's a mountain, you got to make that decision early because you have to get back down.
You got to get back down. You always have to ask yourself, can I get back down? You got to ask that, because on Aconcagua, you'll see when I stopped up there, but that's like not as dangerous as like Denali or Everest or something.
Sure.
But yeah, I got up there and I was really weak at the top, but you go down, you got to go down, then you spend a night at a camp and it's just hiking. It's not, there's no, the type of snow isn't like, I don't know, it's old snow. It's not like fresh blizzard, new snow.
Yeah, consolidated, heavier stuff you can kind of walk on.
So yeah, I hate to quit, but it's between quitting and dying, better to go back the next year.
Okay, so what's coming up next?
So I'm still signed up for 2027 English Channel because I frickin' don't quit. But I also realized when I swam, I went all the way through the winter this year swimming, did those 2 6-hour swims, really forced myself in these long swims when I really didn't have the training for it, just forced it. I got sick for a month. That's one of the reasons I didn't make the 6-hour swim. So I, was a little burnt on swimming. So I've started running again. So next is I'm looking at, I'm going to try and run a 6-minute mile. I haven't done that since 25 years. I go, time. I was 5 years old when I did my last 6-minute mile. So, and then I'm watching these. I've done a 200 miler. I did, I just an unofficial one when I did, if you ever read Dean Karness's book, The Ultra Marathon Man, that he did the solo 200 miler. I was the second one to do it. No relay, I just did it.
Wow.
And yeah, so that was a while ago, but now these 200 milers are in now. So I want to do a 200 miler. So I'm running and I'm swimming and yeah, so I'm doing both. I'm running and swimming. I got a lot on my plate. Woo woo.
It sounds like quite the amazing life to do this many big events, but you just keep going back again and again and again. And what keeps you going back like that?
You know what? I had to really think about this because I go, other people aren't doing this is like what I do,
Right.
It's not even a question in my head. As soon as I don't make Arrowhead, it's like, okay, write out your list. What are you going to do different? How are you going to make it next year?
Sure.
You know what I mean? What are you going to do? Training? What's your food? What's your this? I mean, that's what I'm thinking right after I'm done. And that had a lot to do with the movie, that I got a lot of respect from people from the movie and it said it was very inspiring that I didn't quit. But I think where it really comes back to was in 9th grade, I got cut I was playing all the ball sports, right?
Right.
But I was a late grower. So in 9th grade, I was one of the shortest guys in the class. I got cut from the basketball team, the baseball team. I didn't play on the football team. I couldn't even make the top 3 in track, for we ran 3 laps, the 13:20. And so I remember when I got cut from the basketball team, because it was the first I'd ever been cut, ran out of the dream gym crying, as a 9th grader. I go, this wasn't probably real high on the cool scale for in junior high. But I remember I went out that summer. I went and I was with my buddy, who's one of the top runners. He was one of the top runners in the state in the 2 mile in high school, And he was going for a run and we were both up at Tahoe, we were up there, on vacation, little vacation thing. And he said, I'm going to go for an 8-mile run. Do you want to go with me? And I hadn't run, but I was like, I go, yeah, I wouldn't mind. And so this is my sophomore year and I was playing soccer because they didn't cut. I sucked at soccer. I never even played it. They just didn't cut. I had no passion for it at all. And so he went for a run and I went with him. And you know what? We were going out 4 miles and coming back 4 miles. You know what I did at the 4-mile mark? I had to catch a bus back to the hotel.
No.
I was so screwed up, but it triggered me again. I go, oh my God, I'm going to run again. So I went back out I quit soccer. I went back out for cross country and track in high school. And I was one of the top 5 guys, in the half mile in the county in track. And so it kind of it got me going again. And then, it was just but ever since then, when I went back to track and ran and did good, I've never quit anything since. I said, I was such a big quitter in junior high. I'm never quitting again. And I haven't quit to this day, anything.
You know what I like about that is that you found a reason to turn your life around. You found a reason to say, no, I'm not this person, I'm that person. It became a part of who you are. And that's
I loved
why you
running
just,
as a kid. I used to run to junior high to play basketball in the morning, or I'd run to high school. I loved running, so it came back. Yeah.
Wow, that's great. Well, Bill, we've already burned through all of our time. Thanks for sharing all the fun stories, and we want to make sure everyone knows about the movie again. It's Epic Bill, and you can see that on Amazon, Apple TV, and then what was the short was Pushing Mercury.
Yeah,
and
that's
what
on
else
Carbon
do you have?
TV.
Okay.
I'm also in another documentary called 40 Below. I'm like the main feature guy. The toughest race in the world. That's just on the Arrowhead race, but it was filmed that year.
Wow.
It was weird. Here I'm the last place guy, and I got like 2 film crews following me as the last place guy, but who doesn't quit. They're coming back.
Well, that's fantastic. Well,
So
thank
I'm
you
in that
so
movie
much.
too.
Great stories and amazing. All the things that you've done, you've attempted, you've gone back again and again and again. You're an inspiration. So thank you very much.
Thank you, buddy. You're great. Your podcast is great. I love that you're doing all this and exposing people to get them to do adventures that are hopefully out of their comfort zone. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And then when you figure it out, what you wanted, your big goal, then you just keep going at it and don't quit no matter what. Woo-woo. Even if you see a hand sticking out of a crevice.
Don't quit. I love it. That's a good word. So everyone out there, find your thing and get out there and have some fun.